Okay, Vihina, you with me? It's the third paragraph. So we get to the bottom of the page. Hine means behold, klal, the rule. Mashid starich la'adam, that a person needs. Sheyivchan. Yivchan. Let's translate it as aware. You could translate it as other ways as well.
What's aware?
What? Aware. To be aware of something.
Yivchan means aware?
Well, it doesn't really mean that, but I don't know a better word how to translate it here. The general thing that you need to know, that a person has to be aware, benos or in a subject. You're a subject. What's the general thing you need to know about this subject before you can address it? Hu madrigato ha'amitit shezachanu. Is its true level. That's what madriga means, like a step. Let's say you're facing something. You've got a subject, you want a topic you want to write, right? I suppose what he's trying to say is the first thing you have to do is know where it fits in. In levels means everything's got levels. Things are serious, less serious. Let's just give an example, okay? You're dealing with the laws of the muksa on Shabbos. So there's a whole range of positions this could take on a hierarchy of seriousness. This could be biblical, it could be rabbinic, it could be a custom, it could be a nice idea. Right? And until you know that, you can't start discussing this subject of know how to apply it, when you'll have to do it, when there'll be leniencies, what leniencies will apply. Until you know that fact, you can't start discussing. So the first thing you have to know is that's just one example of level, right? Levels can also be as he's going to say. He'll give 4 examples of levels in a second. V'zeh, and this key, because if we will investigate, I think that's a better word. Klal hanintzos, the general or collection of all things that exist. Nimtzot means exist. Hamuchashim, whether they are physical, the hamuskalim, or whether they are intellectual. All things physical or intellectual. Shehem, which is the klal, which is the summary or the sum total. Kol mashem mitztayer siyuro b'zeh. That's the sum total of all that we can imagine in our brains, right? You could imagine in your brains all physical things and all conceptual things. Those are things you could imagine. Nimtza, you will find she'ein kulam minach. They're not all one type. Umadrega achas, or one level, right? I mean, if you think about, for example, animals, right? It's just the example, right? There's lots and lots of types of animals. There are land animals, and there are sea animals, and there are birds. So you could split into 3. And amongst those, you can then split them in. There's phylum, and then there's whatever. There's also different levels of splitting. He's trying to say, until you split things properly, put them into the right groups, you can't really you've got to have thousands and thousands of different flowers or plants, right? Until you split them into the groups, you can't really address and analyze what you have in front of you. Ella, but what you have, minim shonim, different types, umadrigofot, mitchafot, and different changing levels. Or kafi hitchalef minim, according to how much the things change, ken yitchalfum bishmetem, their rules will change, and v'chukeim, and their laws, according to the different. Right, if it's a mammal, okay, then it has to feed in a certain way. If it's a bird, it has to be dealt with in a different way. The rules are different according to the different groups after you put them in the problems. This will obligate us. This will force us. Here it means to distinguish. In our brain. Leman, in order, nasigotam, that we should understand them, la'amitam, in their truth. Kol echad kafi chuko, each one according to its laws. A good example of this would be the periodic table. Anyone familiar with the periodic table? Like there's 108 or whatever, different things on it. And just until someone sorted that out, there were just all sorts of different elements. There were 108 elements. And what do you do with that? Well, not very much. When you sort them out and realize that there are some which are metals and some which are alkalis, and you sort them out in your head, then you say, oh, well, now I know that these will react with water in a certain way, and these react in these don't react at all because they're inert elements, right? On the far left of the periodic table. Right? When you start sorting things out, then you can understand that they've got different rules. And then, even if you don't actually have experience with them, right? Once you've got experience with one of them, you'll be able to apply the general rules from one to the other. That's what he's trying to say. This is just in all knowledge, not Torah or philosophy. Any information needs to be sorted out like that. One of the great people who did that was Rabbi Akiva. Chazal say that Rabbi Akiva, before he sorted out the Mishnah. See, our Mishnah is sorted into six orders. Zerayim, Mayed, Nashim, Nazikim, Kanshim, Taras. Those are the 6 orders of the Mishnah. Before Rabbi Akiva came, it wasn't ordered like that. And people just had these hundreds and thousands of Mishnahs in their head that they just remembered off by heart without any order. Just the way the rabbi taught it to them. And if you're very clever, you can do that. Right? But if you're not so clever, then it's very difficult to access like that. So he ordered them into 6 groups. One section is all related to laws of women. Okay. And even that, still, you've got 800 Mishnayos all related to women. Still, so then he subcategorized it. One's talking about Gittin, one's Yevomis, one's Ksubas, one's Saita, one's Nazir, one's Nadarim, right? And then within that, and that way it's easy to access, and once it's easy to access, it's easy to apply and to understand. V'omna, which really means in truth. Rashi HaMadrigas, the major groupings, the Haminim Shmei, there's 8 major groupings that you have to put something into before you can start using what you know about it. The Haim, Masherosh, these groups are that which is correct to distinguish, Benoseh, in any matter, Lahakir, to recognize, which are they? So you take a subject, whether it's a plant, or whether it's a concept, or whether it's a halacha, or whether it's a work activity on Shabbos, okay? And you have to decide, the first thing is, Hakol v'chelek. Hakol means the whole, v'chelek means the part. Okay, so, a table. So, the table is the whole, right? The legs are a part. Or you could say, the furniture is the whole, and the table and the chairs are parts. So when you analyze something, you have to decide whether this thing is the whole thing, or is it just part of the picture? That's point number 1. Right? Some things will be part, in which case you want to know, well, what's the whole? Right? If you know the part, but you don't know the whole, you don't have the whole picture. Right? If you know the whole, but you don't know the parts, you also don't have the whole picture.
And then,
for example, you have an orchestra, right? So you know the whole thing. If you know what it's made up of, the different parts, you won't be able to copy it or enjoy the music or apply the music because you know the whole thing, but you don't know what it's made up of. On the other hand, if you just have the parts and you don't have the bigger picture, you also won't be able to have the whole picture. Yes, Dylan.
But it's like never ending, because then with the orchestra, like even though one instrument could be a part, if you take that instrument individually, that's a whole instrument.
True, you're right. I agree. Okay.
And so then everything could be both.
I guess so.
Yeah?
Okay, the next thing you want to know about something that you have that you want to analyze is iklal v'haprat. Is it a general, which is a klal, or is it a detail? Now, we'll have to see how those are different. They're not so different. I mean, you have the whole, right, and you have the parts, and you have a general concept, and you have a detail, right, which is also sort of a whole and a part. Because you can have a general meaning, like a contract, and you have the details in the contract. A siba v'hamesoivev. Siba means the cause, v'hamesoivev is the effect. So is the thing you're dealing with a cause, in which case you want to know its effects, or is the thing you're dealing with an effect, in which case you want to know what the cause is? If you only have the effects and you don't know the cause, you've also only got half. In each of the things, you've only got half the story, and you're frustrated until you've got the whole picture. Right? The last one is the noseh, which is the subject, v'hamitchaber, and the things related to the subject.
Like the main story and the side.
Right, and the side points. Okay, so I think because we're only dedicating 10 minutes a day to this, we should leave that to the moment, and we'll go into more detail tomorrow.
The subject and what else?
And that which is related to the subject. Okay? Now to see, well, how does it relate to the subject? Things relate, but coincidentally, they can relate intrinsically. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Okay?
All right.
Hopefully.